Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 24 of the Give 'em Heck podcast. I'm Brian, this is your host, Penny, and we'd like to thank everybody for tuning in again for another week. We're sorry that it's uploading a little later than normal. There were some plans this weekend.
Busy weekend.
So if this episode isn't up by, this is what, Sunday night? It should be up by Monday morning, hopefully. At least on YouTube. Spotify tends to load a little slower, so we'll see how that goes out. But I'll get it uploaded as soon as possible. But anyway, again, thank you and welcome any new visitors. We're very happy to have you here, and you can take it away.
All right, perfect. Okay, so we'll just get right into it. We're all done with the $20 electronic gift card from Amazon, and we did have a winner for that, so you know who you are, so we'll be sending that to you. Other than that, welcome our regular viewers and any new viewers, as Brian just said. So I'm going to read our disclaimer that we are not doctors, psychologists, or counselors. We are not given any medical or psychological advice. We're just simply here to discuss real life situations, to give hope, encouragement, and instill change.
Absolutely.
Ready?
Mm-hmm.
All right, here we go. So in our last episode last week, we talked about living the legacy. And I'm going to read the definition that I read last week about living the legacy. It means consciously creating and embodying a lasting impact on the world during your lifetime, rather than waiting for it to happen after you're gone. It involves living with purpose by making positive daily choices, expressing your values through actions, fostering growth, and leaving a positive imprint on others through kindness, wisdom, and commitment to things that matter. So I asked you, Brian, what does living the legacy mean to you? Do you remember what you said?
I think I said it's putting your money where your mouth is, like living the life that you say you want to live, or leaving that legacy that you want to live. It's not just saying, oh, I wish I could be remembered for that. No, it's actually practicing it.
Right.
Yeah.
Being who you say you are,
Yeah.
and doing what you say you'll do.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect.
Being in having integrity.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Every day we are living the legacy through our beliefs, our values, morals, and character, and through the choices that we make. We make choices every day. The choice to change or not to change, the choice to forgive or not forgive, and the choice to love or to hate. And we talked about with the choices of what we should do or not do, we talked about the condition of the world today.
Yeah.
And how we can integrate some of those changes and things that we would love to see.
Yeah.
And you talked about complacency.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's that I actually had a talk with a friend of mine about this last night, is the way the world is right now, and I'm not going to say it's one side or the other. It's, both sides have their flaws, and I'm talking specifically in politics, but like anybody, there's always two sides to every story, right?
And then there's the truth.
Exactly. You can have both sides give their point, but which side aligns with truth? And it's how you enforce that truth. We're seeing a lot of violence in today's world. And in my opinion, and I'm sure a lot of people would probably agree with me, because most of my friends do that I've spoken with, if your method of validating the truth is by practicing violence, you're probably not on the right side of the fence. And take that as you will. I'm just saying, if you need to, violence is never the answer unless it's done in self-defense.
Exactly.
That's what my stance is on it. And if you want to have a perfect society where people can come together and agree on things and empathize with each other, the best thing to do is to humble yourself. Bring yourself to a position of, what is this person talking about? Or what are they going through to make them think that? if you have to use violence to counterbalance things, that's when you need to take a step back and think, maybe I'm wrong
Maybe I'm the problem.
or the problem, or anything. Because again, we have justice for a reason. We have judgment for a reason, and we have like I said, that self-defense thing. It's like that's where I cast some blame, because in a world of complacency, we've let people get away with too much.
Yeah.
And that it's not just politics, it's everything. You see how arrogant people can be, and I think it's the level of complacency. I think I made the example of customer service.
Yep.
When you have like a very rude person just walk up to you and think they can talk to you however they want, that should have never happened to begin with.
Right.
So what legacy are we leaving with all of this? We're definitely not leaving a good one.
Mm-mm.
Where people are treated like machines and violence is running rampant.
Exactly.
I don't care what your religious beliefs are, what your political stance is. I don't care about any of that. What I care about is treating people with decency, respect, courtesy, leaving that legacy of your character to where people can look at you and say, that person is who they said they were. They were nice, considerate, compassionate, understanding, even when they didn't agree with me.
Yep. It's true. And on that, because you mentioned empathy. So Dad and I were out yesterday running some errands, and you don't have to leave the yard too far before you realize that a lot of those things that you just talked about, Brian, are not there. Empathy, sympathy, people thinking about others instead of themselves. And it is sad. And I think that's a big part of it today, is there is no empathy, sympathy. People don't think about others. It's all a me mentality.
Yeah,
and I don't care what I have to do to be first. I don't care what I have to do to get there. As long as at the end of the day, me wins.
I think, and this was part of the conversation I had with a friend the other day, is I think a lot of the problem and I mentioned this too, is I think parents failed along the way. And I'm fortunate to have been brought up with this. But a lot of parents, and I'll reference what I said in the last episode if nobody saw it yet, parents would rather be their kids' friends than their parents. And we grew up with this mindset of, you deserve everything, or you deserve a good life. So then when people are hit with the negatives that life brings, people become bitter. They think they're owed.
Self-entitlement?
Yeah, that's definitely a large part of it, self-entitlement. Because a lot of times you see when people are mean, it's because something bad happened to them, so they feel they have to defend themselves in some way.
Justification.
Or defend their character. And it's like, if I ever have kids, I'm gonna the first thing I'm gonna teach them when they're old enough to understand is I'm gonna be like, life is not fair. Life will not treat you well.
Nope.
The best thing for you to do is to roll with the punches. Make the best out of the worst you're given. And to leave that legacy of honor.
Yeah.
And
I know I've mentioned to you, or I've asked you before, Brian, if you're happy, not only with yourself as far as who you are today because of the way we raised you, but do you think we were too hard on you?
No, I don't think that with the exception of abuse, there is no such thing as too hard, because life is hard. You know, think of the analogy of, a mother bird when she has to kick her babies out of the nest. She lets them either climb out and fall, or she sometimes even pushes them out.
Right.
You know, you would look at that and say, well, that's kind of cruel. Why doesn't she, hold them and fly with them? No. Life doesn't work that way. In the animal kingdom, animals are born and they're thrown into a world that's trying to kill them the moment they're born, and it's the same concept with humanity. We're born into a world that is not fair. And for people to be so entitled as to be nasty to those around them because life was unfair to them, or to grow up bitter and angry, what does that say about you as a person?
Right. Well, something went wrong.
Yeah, something went wrong. And I think that's part of the problem, is that as generations were born, parents failed. And if you find yourself in that position of, well, my child grew up, in a very spoiled home, and now they're bitter and angry, I'm not saying blame yourself necessarily. I'm saying learn from the mistakes you made and try to talk to your children, that life is not easy. It's okay to hit people with hard truths. And a lot of times you'll know a person's character by how they react.
Right. Right. Well, we didn't want to raise you in a make-believe facade.
Right.
You know what I mean?
No, and that wouldn't have been fair to me.
No.
If I grew up like that, that wouldn't have been fair to me, because you see it happen. You can just do a simple YouTube video and watch, these sometimes even young adults in society losing their minds because their order at McDonald's was wrong. Like, where do you get off getting upset over something so small? Mm-hmm. Like, I watched a video the other day of this guy who was at McDonald's there, and they got his order wrong. But you know what they did? They just forgot his fries. And instead of just walking up to the counter and being like, hey, I ordered some fries, may I please get those? No, what does he do? He takes his entire order that he had and he throws it at the staff.
Oh.
And then he starts destroying their countertop. And I'm looking at this and I'm like, over fries? And we can even apply it to other things. You see somebody get cut off on the road, Yeah, I hate being cut off, but it's not going to ruin my day.
Well, it shouldn't. How far does it get you to act like an idiot?
Yeah. Because when does your actions justify what the other person did?
Right.
And again, there's a difference between self-defense and self-indulgence. I don't know if that's the right word.
Self-gratitude?
Self-gratification. I don't know. There's a word there somewhere.
The expectation that things should have just went your way?
Yeah, there's a word I'm thinking of, but maybe I nailed it, maybe I didn't. But it's basically that. It's like, when does getting what I want override what happened in the situation?
Mm-hmm. Well, you can still get what you need or want by not acting like that.
Exactly. Again, I think the people grew up in a society where we have too much, we expected too much, we were told we'd get too much, and when reality hits, all of a sudden we can't handle it.
Yep.
This is why you have people around my age that can't function in society. It's not because they are incapable of it, they're confused as to why they can't. And it's
right.
It's sad.
It is sad.
I'm 33 years old, and I have a full-time job. I pay for all my own stuff, and it's like, you see some people, sometimes even older than me, who can't even grasp the concept of getting a job. because they've been spoiled their entire lives. Think of that legacy that leaves.
Yeah.
And that's why it's important to live that legacy in the right manner. It's never too late to turn things around.
Yep. That's true. That's true, Brian. It isn't.
It's when people refuse to do better, to
Right.
change. That's where things get messed up.
Yeah. But on that note, I will say too, even though a lot of what we've just talked about is very negative, I will say that lately, like on X and TikTok and whatnot, I've been seeing a lot more videos of acts of kindness. And I don't know if you have, I can't speak for you, but I hope the temperature's changing, Brian, in the world. I hope the actions of people are becoming different. I know people are tired. I get it. It does get tiring fighting the fight, right? But I just hope like there are more good people that are finally saying, maybe it's time.
I hope so too. And I have been seeing it. I've been seeing what's been going on, not just in the US, but across the world. And I think people are finally done with the violence, the lies, the
Hypocrisy.
the false narrative, the hypocrisy, all of it.
Yep.
And this is a starting point for something, but in reality, the starting point starts with you. Even going back to just your personal life.
Yep.
You can still make that difference that you've been looking for. It just takes effort.
Yep.
And that's okay.
And it's not going to be comfortable.
No.
But the effort is worth it.
It is. It's worth it. Because, I asked this to a friend the other day because they were upset about something, and I was like, well, what is it that you're doing right now that's changing things? And they were like, nothing. And I'm like, so would you rather break out of the cage you're in to change things? Or would you rather stay where you are and wish things could be better?
Wow.
And she was silent for a few minutes, and she's like, I'd rather break out of the cage. And I said, the door's already unlocked. All you got to do is walk out.
Yeah.
Sometimes we build our own cages. We build our own walls.
We sure do. We are our worst enemies.
So it's funny to me how sometimes people's problems are so easy to fix, but they just refuse to. It's like they'd rather live in a comfortable lie than a painful truth.
Yeah, it's true.
Mm-hmm.
True. Absolutely. So we're going to move on to today's podcast if you're good.
Oh boy.
You're good? Uh-oh. Here we go. So in today's podcast, we're going to discuss.
Disgust. We're going to discuss it, guys.
We've already done it. We've
Get ready.
discussed it. We're going to discuss Forged in the Fire.
Ooh, okay.
And I know you like forging because you like swords.
Yeah.
You like knives.
Yeah.
So you're going to kind of understand where I'm coming from when I say this. So being forged in the fire goes along with the podcast that we did last week, Living the Legacy, through living with purpose by making positive daily choices and expressing your values through actions and fostering growth. So you see how they kind of connect? Mm-hmm. Got that? Mm-hmm. Because I'm going to ask you, what does forged in the fire mean to you?
To me, it means being willing to endure the flames of heartache, of pain, to come out stronger. Because that's what happens in forging.
Yep.
For those of you that don't know how forging works, is not only do you have to press the blade into the shape you want it, but after you sculpt the blade out, it's put into a forge, which is like really, really, really hot. Mm-hmm. And that's where you shape it. That's where you straighten it out. you know, and then after it's straightened to the way you want it, you dip it in a solution of, it could be oil, it could be some other type of liquid that's usually it's oil, but you dip it in there, and the sharp change in temperature will make the blade sturdy.
Wow.
It hardens it.
Interesting.
And then when you pull the blade out of the oil, it's you let it cool, and then it becomes solidified, like it fills everything.
Wow.
So to me, when I say you will be forged in fire, that means you will be shaped and be a sharp-edged weapon to use your skill and your design to achieve what you were made for.
That's awesome. I knew you'd go off on this one, because when I was thinking about the title of it, I was like, oh, he's going to go off. I know it. So I looked up the definition of forged in the fire, and this is what it said. It is an idiom meaning that someone or something has been stronger and more resilient through intense difficulty, hardship, or struggle. The phase originates from the process of forging metal, where intense heat and hammering shape and harden it into a stronger, more durable object. When applied to people or relationships, it suggests that the adversity has a refining and strengthening effect, leading to greater resilience and a deeper sense of purpose.
I nailed it.
You nailed it, friend. Did you look up the definition?
No, I watch a lot of forging videos.
I know you do. So I think I can speak for everyone that's watching when I can say that we've all been living through some pretty trying times lately, whether they be personal hardships or dealing with world issues. And I like how the definition, Brian, forged in the fire, suggests that adversity has a refining and strengthening effect, leading to a greater resilience and a deeper sense of purpose. Because we've talked about purpose before, right? Everyone has a purpose, as we've mentioned in previous episodes. And I believe everything we go through brings us to that purpose.
Yeah.
So when being forged in the fire, I believe two things come out of it: purpose and change. Do you want to add anything before I go further?
I guess it kind of goes into what I was saying a little bit ago about how, as you're raised, I consider that as the forging process. If you so much as do one little thing wrong, it can ruin the entire blade. It can lose its integrity. It can bend in odd angles. The only difference between, in the analogy, the only difference between a human being and a sword being forged is that you can always find that turning point to re-straighten the blade. Where sometimes, and I guess this goes into the analogy of forging, is that sometimes when a blade is messed up or not forged properly, it has to be melted down again and reshaped. I've seen that happen in this show, ironically called Forged by Fire, or Forged in Fire. And when they mess up a blade, they will break it.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
They'll disassemble the whole metal structure, melt it down, reshape it, using the exact same metal, but they'll refine their technique, reshaping it, putting it back into the press, putting it back into the forge, back into the press. You know, it's like multiple processes. And what's funny, and this goes into the analogy, is that the more you forge it, the more you put it in the fire and reshaping it, it becomes straighter, it becomes stronger. And that final act of putting it in the oil is what solidifies it. So with people, the example that I can give when it comes to people is that if you're shaped wrong, if you find yourself not in the best frame of mind, You can always go back and learn from the mistakes, aka back into the forge, to make yourself stronger and learn.
Mm-hmm.
It's when you don't learn
There you go.
that you'll find that your blade is not it doesn't have the integrity that you want it to.
So if you don't learn a lesson, you're going back in.
Yeah, you'll relive it, and that's like what my friend has. She's struggling with her past, but she's not learning anything, so she's just being put back into the forge for no reason.
That's
you know what happens when you put a blade into a forge that you don't mold? It becomes flexible. It becomes too soft to mold. You have to heat it just to the right temperature to put it back into the press to make sure that the blade doesn't become too flat or too warped. It has to be done.
So it's not useful.
It's not useful. It has to be done in a perfect way.
Wow.
And that's the example I can give when learning from your mistakes. It's not the mistake you made, it's how you learned from it.
That's good. That's really good.
How you can use it.
Mm-hmm. And that's what I was saying, that I believe when you're being forged in the fire, Brian, that there are two things that come out of it: purpose and change. And like you said, until you learn from it, you're going back. Sad but true, right, friend?
Mm-hmm.
So I told you earlier this week, Brian, because you and I talk a lot, that everything changed for me after my mom, your Nana, passed away. Mm-hmm. This is when I started questioning everything. Remember that video you and I were watching? And I said the point for me that I felt life really changed for me was when I lost Mom. Mm-hmm. So now when looking back, I realized that this is where my forging began. Was when Mom passed away, because that's when everything changed. It was not only bringing me to my purpose, but changing my mindset. So I'm going to make a point and ask you some questions. So with the changing of mindset, one of those things you and I have been digging into is, what is truth? So you mentioned last week, your comment was, you'd rather live a hurtful truth than a comfortable lie. Can you expand on that with what we've been talking about today?
It's literally, like I've been saying, is that if you live in a comfortable truth, it not only stunts your ability to grow and learn, but it also can prevent you from being, in the case of today's episode, it prevents you from being forged properly. It prevents you from questioning the status quo. It prevents you from, I guess it could even go as far as stop you from being lied to perceive those lies as truth. It blinds you. It puts blinders on you. It makes tunnel vision. And when you don't question what you were brought up with, and you just accept what you believe as truth, it stunts growth. It stunts progress. I'm the kind of person that I always question things.
You think it's okay to question?
Absolutely. Even things that I know are truth, I still question, because I don't want to know just why it's truth, but what makes it truth. So this is why I'm so good at I'm not good at explaining things ad lib. I'm better at answering questions. Mm-hmm. And when a person comes to me with questions about anything, 9 times out of 10, I have an answer. Not because I know everything or I claim to know everything, because I don't. I don't know everything. I'm not the smartest guy on earth. If I was, I'd probably be a millionaire. But understanding how things around you work, because that's another thing about me, and Nana even told me this, is I'm the kind of person that likes to take everything apart to know how it works.
You get that from your dad.
Yeah. I like to know how things work. Like, you can't just show me, for example, you can't just say, hey, look at this car. This car is fast. Well, why is it fast? Oh, because it's got this engine in it. Well, what kind of transmission is it hooked up to? I want to know the minor details, because to me, the minor details are what matter. And that's the same in life. I don't want to know why, or I don't want to just see the sky is blue. I want to know why it's blue. So for me, I don't want to live in a comfortable truth just for the sake of it, or an uncomfortable truth just for the sake of it. I want to live in that because it helps me to advance. One truth will lead to another. And living in that comfortable lie, it blocks you off from anything. It's like we've said in prior episodes. What good is it to surround yourself with people that believe the exact same thing you do if you don't know how the other side is or how that other person thinks?
Right.
I want to know why that other person thinks.
Exactly.
It's funny, I've mentioned I do debates, but when I debate somebody, sometimes I know more about what the other person believes than what I myself believe. Right. Sometimes I end up explaining to the other person why they think the way they do.
It's true, you do.
And that's the thing. It's not because I invest myself in wanting to, surround myself with false information. I do it so I understand why it's false. So I always encourage people, like even people who believe the exact same things I do. I tell them all the time, don't stay on this side of the fence. Go to the other side too. Learn what it is they believe. Because once you learn what they believe, you'll be able to pick out the good, the bad, and the ugly.
There you go.
Because again, I'll use the word indoctrination. I hate that. I hate indoctrination because that is the thing that has happened in society where people only hear one side.
Right.
And you can apply that to anything. I'm not pointing fingers at anything specific. I'm saying in general. People only hear one thing, and then they just grow up believing it, and they don't question things. And then once they are questioned, now they have cognitive dissonance where they're uncomfortable with hearing something that is opposing.
Right. Well, and here's the problem with indoctrination. You're spoon-fed, you don't explore it. So now when you're dealt with that situation, like you said, Brian, all you do is regurgitate because you think that that's the answer because you've never gone further with it, so you believe that as truth. So there's no critical thinking.
Well, and we can apply it to the same thing with this episode, with the being forged in fire. It's like when a blacksmith uses the exact same metal in the exact same method, yeah, his blades will be consistent, but where's the fun in that? Why doesn't he try different methods? To me, a skilled blacksmith is somebody who can create many different types of blades in many different types of formats. And, going off of our episode, it's the same with cooking. To give a different example for those of you who don't know about forging. Why cook the same meal every day? Don't you think that's boring? I wouldn't want to eat the same thing every single day. I'd want to try new recipes. I'd want to try new meals. I'd want to try new strategies because that is growth. To me, that's progress.
There you go. Well, and it allows for critical thinking. That's what I'm saying. And that's like, I'm a teacher, and that is one thing I instill in my students is I want them to explore. I want them to think for themselves. I want them to break out of their box. I can tell them, but what good is it if they don't take what I say and move forward with it?
Yeah,
I don't want a bunch of zombies.
Yeah, they're not being forged
I
properly.
want them to be challenged.
And it's even the same with me. Like when somebody comes to me with a question, what I usually do is I set a foundation. I just plant the seed, and then I let them grow. I let them explore, because I would be a hypocrite if I said that I just give everybody information and then say, okay, you know everything now, bye. That's indoctrination. I'd be a hypocrite. I tell them, or I answer their question and then say, hey, go listen to this other guy. See where you can pick out the differences in our systems, and then maybe come back and say, well, he said this. And then I just plant another little seed.
Right. Right. And I think, too, it depends, and I'll say this, I believe that it has to do with your generation, I think, sometimes. Because I know as a child, Brian, we were always taught, you don't question.
Yeah.
You just do what you're told. And I don't think that was always a good idea.
It was never a good idea. Like, again, listening to your parents growing up is one thing, but not questioning the reason. Like, a good example, if a parent tells their kid not to put their hand on the stove, and the kid asks why, and the parent just says, because I told you to.
Not a good enough answer.
That doesn't tell the kid anything. That just tells the kid they just don't want me to do it. So because kids are curious, one of these days he's going to put his hand on the stove even though the parent said no. Lo and behold, he'll get burnt.
Yep.
Instead of the parent just being like, don't put your hand on the stove. Why can't I? Because it's very hot and it's going to burn your hand.
Right. It's okay.
A parent should never respond with an order by saying, because I said so.
Or do as I say, not as I do.
Yeah, I grew up with parents like that. Like, not you guys, but like my friends. I seen their parents do it. I seen their parents literally use those words, because I said so.
Right.
And then I look at that and I'm saying, you know what you're doing? You're creating a rebellious child.
Yeah, because eventually they're going to venture out. That's what people do.
Yeah. You're not forging right.
There you go.
You got to stick that blade back in the fire.
Here we go. Learn that lesson again. We're going to go around the mountain one more time.
Full speed.
Right? So you expounded on that comment, Brian, about you'd rather live a hurtful truth than a comfortable lie. So I'm going to ask you this. Do you think most people can handle the truth?
I think everybody can. I just don't think everybody was brought up to handle it. People were brought up in a world where, like I said earlier, they think everything is sunshine and rainbows. And then when they're confronted with opposing facts, even if it is 100% true, they can't handle it.
Right. Is it because they felt like they were held back from the curiosity?
Yeah, that's part of it. I think being sheltered creates a huge problem, because I don't know if you remember, you remember one of my exes, right? The one that used to live out in that community with us. No, she didn't live with us, but her parents lived like right down the road. We lived in their apartment complexes.
Okay. Yep. Yes. Yes.
She was sheltered. Like, she's my age. But back then, I was in my mid-20s. She was sheltered. There were things I asked her that were so, like, I'm not going to sit here and say she was very naive. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, that's a good word.
She was very naive. And there were like a lot of TV shows that I used to watch that her parents would not let her watch, even at the age she was. And it was funny to me how after we grew apart and she went and did her own thing, when she finally went out into the world, she made a lot of bad mistakes. A lot.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate, but I don't blame her.
Right.
I blame her parents.
Mm-hmm.
because they never taught her the harsh reality of the world,
Mm-hmm.
that people would take advantage of her ignorance.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Good example.
And that's the thing. It's not that people can't handle the truth. I think people are held back from it in the name of safety and security.
Wow.
You know, it's like some parents today, and I'm making a lot of parental examples today, but it's true. Parents that have young toddlers or babies and they don't let them outside, they just keep them inside all day.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times when they grow up, they become very sick.
Right.
They can't handle the outside. They have intense allergies. They get sick very easy. It's important to introduce your children to the outside world because it helps them build that immunity.
Mm-hmm.
They build an immune system to it when they're young. And it's like, again, being forged. Forge that metal while it's soft. Mm-hmm. And then don't solidify it until you put it in the oil.
Mm-hmm.
AKA letting them out into the world.
Yep. Good examples. Very good. Okay, so I asked you, do you think most people can handle the truth? My next question is, do you think people want to know the truth?
I think people are hungry for truth. I think even people who seem solidified in their ways are always feeling like they're missing something. And I think that's by design. I think people want to know more than what they're given. I just think people are either afraid to know the truth because it conflicts with their mindsets, or people want to twist the truth. They hear things and they're like, well, I agree, but I think it could be this. And it's like, no, there is no buts. There's truth. Stop trying to meld the truth to your lifestyle because it makes you feel good. It's important to be conflicted because being conflicted allows you to seek out more. There's nothing wrong with being conflicted. It's like my friend last night who was talking to me. She felt uncomfortable with it. And I was like, don't be uncomfortable. Use that uncomfortable feeling you have to want to know why you feel that way. You know? And it's like that same thing. People want to know, but I think they're just afraid to.
Wow. Because I know it's uncomfortable, but is it because at this point now they might have to change?
Yeah, it could be. Could be change. A lot of people don't like change. Me, I love change. I'm the kind of person that's like, you put me in a brand new environment and I want to learn everything about it. And I know not everybody's like me. I want to make that clear. But I think for a person there's a deeper problem there when you have somebody
I guess that's where
afraid.
I was trying to ask you, like, what is the root of that? There has to be something.
Yeah, it could be the way they were. It could be a multitude of things. It could be the way they were brought up. It could just be the way that they lived their whole lives. It could be the things that they heard and they heard something new and they don't like it. It could be a multitude of things. But the thing that I know for a fact none of these people were ever told is that it's okay to feel uncomfortable. It's okay to be brought outside the bubble.
Mm-hmm. Right. So you said there is only truth.
Yeah, there's only truth. There are absolutes. I know, and I don't mean to go off the beaten path here, but I love science. I'm a big science guy. And I find it funny how science says there's no absolutes, but yet they deal in absolutes all the time. They learn the truth of why things work.
There has to be absolutes.
There are
absolutes. Things wouldn't even exist.
It was funny. I was in debate with somebody, and again, sorry for going down a rabbit hole, but I was in a debate with somebody a long time ago, and it had to do with a scientific topic, and I had said something, and he said that he's like, "There's no absolutes in this." And I looked at him and I said, "Are you absolutely sure?"
That's so you.
He took a minute. Because I think he got confused on what I said. But there are absolutes. There are truths. There's just depth to it. Mm-hmm. You know? When people say there are no absolutes, to me that says you just haven't gotten all the facts yet.
Keep digging.
Keep digging. Yeah. Because again, it's like that example I made with the sky. You know, we can sit here and both agree, yeah, it's blue. That's a truth. Well, why is it blue? Now you're uncovering a whole new layer of the truth. You know?
And you might find out some other things.
You might find out some other things as to why it's blue or why it becomes dark at night and stuff like that. You know,
it's endless.
It's endless. And that's okay. But people get afraid of the deep.
Well, because your whole life concept could change.
Yeah, it can change everything. One little truth can change your entire lifestyle. But and we've mentioned this in other episodes, is that you were afraid to reach that new person.
Exactly.
And I had to ask you why. Why is it a bad thing to explore? Why is it a bad thing to reach new heights or new depths?
Right.
You know?
Because you might find out you were wrong.
That was something she mentioned in that conversation I had last night. Yeah, she was afraid that maybe there were some things that she believed that were wrong. And I was like, and again, that's a bad thing.
Well, it can change your whole paradigm. You and I have been talking about that.
Maybe it's my age that makes me look at change or difference and go, okay, big deal. But I can see how to another person it could be a very detrimental thing, because it puts them in a position where they may have done things in accordance to their mindset that they now have to rectify.
Well, and I don't like the fact that I'm finding out I've been lied to.
Yeah. But in that same concept, you can use that frustration and anger that you were lied to reveal the truth to people who believe the lie. You know, it's all in how you use it. Like I think I mentioned this in other episodes. There's nothing wrong with anger. It's just using it right. You know, there's nothing wrong with sadness. It's just using it right. It's when it gets to a point where you harm others, that's when it becomes the problem.
Yeah. So if there is truth, what is that? What is truth dependent on, Brian?
I guess it would depend on context.
Okay.
Like what?
Okay, I understand what you're saying. So,
because there's a truth to everything.
Okay.
You know, to a truth to how a person acts. Well, why do you act that way? Oh, because this happened. Okay, well, how did that make you feel? It made me feel this way. You know, you peel away layers to uncover the ultimate truth.
I see.
And I think that's the funny thing about the difference between truth and lies, is that lies are very one-dimensional. There's nothing beyond it. You can't uncover more of a lie. You only uncover more of them. But with truth has layers and depth to it.
Wow.
You know, you can learn multiple layers of truth that bring you to the ultimate result. But a lie just ends. You can only make more of them.
Wow. That's why I think they're so harmful.
Yeah.
Because the reality of them, when you find them out, it's like, ugh. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah, it's like lies are like brick walls, you know?
They're harmful.
Yeah, they lock you in.
Wow. So digging for the truth can tear those walls down. That's good. So finding, knowing, and accepting the truth is and can be hard. It requires a changing of mindset, as you and I are finding out in a lot of the research we're doing right now. Do you believe, Brian, that when you start questioning things, you can begin to find your purpose?
I think instead of finding your purpose, I would use the word finding a purpose. Because implying it finds your purpose implies that it's just exclusively to you. I don't like being I like to bring everything out to everybody. You know what I'm saying? When I find out something new, I like to share it. I don't like to just say, oh, this is my purpose, let me just use it for myself. No, I use it to benefit others.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes sense.
It does. So with everything that we've talked about today, with, being forged in the fire, changing our mindset, finding purpose, digging into more truths, I guess my last question to you today, Brian, would be, how and where do we go from here?
You and me specifically, or the world?
Oh, take it from both advantages. Because there's probably people out there that are watching this that are going through a lot of the similar things that you and I are going through. And it does affect world, right? Because you live in the world.
Right.
It's not going to be avoided through those things, but
I guess the best advice I give, because this is the path I follow, is that I whenever I'm confronted with a question, I seek an answer. Whenever I'm confronted with a wall, I want to tear it down. Whenever I'm confronted with lies, I want to uncover the truth. I question everything. So for a person like, where do we go from here? Keep studying, keep learning, keep progressing, break out of the shell. There's nothing wrong with seeking the uncomfortable change to uncover the potential of you as an individual, and to continue to spread the truth that has been held from you for so long.
wow. And that can be heavy when you find that.
It can be heavy at first, but just like lifting weights, the burden gets lighter. Again, that being forged in fire.
Mm-hmm.
When the blade goes into the fire, it's flexible, it's malleable, it's not what you want it to be. But then you have to put it under the press, and you got to hammer that blade into shape. You got to flatten it out. You got to sharpen the edge. You got to put it through uncomfortable things, and one little mess up can ruin the whole thing. So it's stressful. It's sometimes overwhelming, depending on the size of the blade. Mm-hmm. Like a normal katana is nothing compared to a claymore. Claymores are very large swords. So it's much more meticulous. It has to be done right. It has to be molded right. But once you put it in that oil and it comes out, that is a beautiful blade. Mm. So that same concept with us. Put yourself in uncomfortable positions. Challenge the status quo. Don't hide behind a one-dimensional barrier that you can only see one side.
That's good. You think a lot of those things, Brian, when you hide yourself behind that, you're mostly hiding behind a wall of lies?
9 times out of 10, if you're surrounding yourself with only one side of things, yes. And sometimes that can even be that truth can be forged into a lie. Because, again, being told one thing your entire life, you can perceive it as truth. But once you realize you were lied to, how many of those truths that you believed in are now lies?
Oh, God. I know. And I only act the way I do because of the things that you and I are finding out. We'll save that for another episode. How about that?
Right.
That's good, Brian. So are you good?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I finished my point.
You did a good job, too. So I'm going to leave us with the quote that I always do. It goes along with today's episode about being forged in the fire. There are some things you can only learn in a storm.
Mm-hmm. That's good.
You want to add to it, or are you good?
No, I think that speaks for itself pretty well.
Yep, I thought so. All right, my friends, just remember, as I leave you our quote that I always do, believe in yourself, be patient with yourself, and know that your best is always good enough. Also, please like, share, and subscribe, and know that we can be found on different platforms like YouTube, Spotify, X, and Apple. And we do have an email at giveemheck@gmail.com. If you'd like to leave any comments or concerns, please do that there. And we will wrap it up for tonight.
Absolutely. And one more little thing
Okay.
before we go.
Sure.
We have something special planned for episode 25. So keep an eye on YouTube next weekend.
Okay.
Something cool might be happening.
Okay.
If it doesn't happen, then you'll find just a normal episode. But we're planning something pretty cool. So if you're interested, keep an eye on YouTube next weekend.
All right.
Have a good night, everyone.
Good night.